Thanks for hanging in there, folks. We got a little bit long. I'm 2 minutes past. Trying to figure out the strange thing that Google decides to do. And what I mean by that strange thing is I don't push go until now. About 20 minutes, it says waiting for the ogre. So I know that it has sent notifications out to people that are regulars, and they get here and see, oh, it just says waiting for ogre. So just please try to keep in mind that we go on about somewhere between 4 and 10 minutes after the hour, same time, 3 days a week. And that's all we can do is tell you, because apparently randomly Google will do what it does. So anyway, today is a great day for me. I'm so glad you got to hear my voice. I hope that you tuned in for the short stream earlier today, that you'll look out for just solo streams from yours truly on the weekend and on days that we're not doing this here. Also for videos from Common Senseguy. Look out for some shorts from Magic Bollocks. If you haven't already noticed his channel, go check it out. He's already got a couple up there. He's just looking to entertain you very quickly, make you laugh, make you smile, maybe even piss you off. Whatever he's doing, it's his business. That said, great stream today. It's going to be a special stream. Well, we're going to do this political compass test, whatever it is. Common Senseguy is going to take over the helm, and we're going to see what he's got for us here. How you doing, Common?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Not doing too bad at all. Obviously, I did a political compass test on Sunday. I ended up becoming a liberal, apparently. So a follower of liberalism, as it is. I'm sure, as you're all aware, that the reason why I'm showing my face is I have to get used to doing debates with my face shows. Probably on Saturday we might have an important guest. Not 100% sure about that one, but we'll see where that one goes. So I thought today would be a very interesting point to actually go through with Ogre and Magic Bollocks, to actually do the test themselves, to see where they would actually lie. Obviously, we can't do 2 individual tests, so sort of trying to go through it and talk what's going on. So I think that if I quickly remember how to do screen share, because I haven't had a long while, because I'm still waiting for my actual points. Now, we now got screen share going. So this is the first question. Shall we say hello to Magic Bollocks, as he hasn't said anything?
Greetings.
Woo! Okay then, moving swiftly on.
now, are you going to send us? Are we going to get a link or to this to where we can do it at the same time, or are we just going to like do it all together?
No, we can do it, but I will send you the link in the Hangouts quickly. Sorry about showing everything.
No worries.
There's a link in there, and then I've gone back to the main screen so people can see that.
All right, there we go.
That way I can do the political test with both of you and see if I get the same answers for the same questions.
Right. There.
Right, so how is everybody actually then today?
I've never been better, except for like a month ago. But I've been better, but not much.
Yeah, I'm fine, but the fact I've got to go back to work tomorrow is a bit annoying. But other than that, fine.
Bollocks.
It's fair enough.
Yeah.
Bollocks.
Exactly. Magic ones. Magic ones. Right. Has everybody got their question up and ready so we can do this through the...
Yeah, so I'm looking right here at Common Sense. You may have to walk me through a little bit because I'm a moron. So I'm here at this, and where do I go now? Just, do I click on anything? This right here?
No, that's for next. Where you are, those are for next. That's the first question. That shows you where your compass is.
So I'm right where I need to be, and I just need to let you take her away now then.
Yep, sure. So each individual enjoys body autonomy and have rights that no other individual or group may violate. Discuss among the group.
Oh man, so each individual enjoys bodily autonomy. In other words, their body is their own. They can do what they want with it. They can tattoo it, they can cut it, they can take care of it, they can eat anything they want. Yes, and they have rights that no other individual can
violate. No other individual can violate. So the body autonomy basically means your individual rights are supreme, as long as they don't interfere with somebody else.
I'm thumbs way up. I'm as far to the good thumbs up as you can get.
Yeah, that's the same as me on that one. What about you, Bollocks?
Well, the thing is, I said to Mr. Ogre before we came on, was it possible to get the political outcome of Nazi? And
yes, it is. Yes, it is actually possible. Yes,
it is it?
It is.
I can imagine you've got to do a lot of down thumbing to get that.
Well, no, in this case, that would be thumbs up. The Nazis believed in bodily autonomy for Germans.
The Aryan race.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Right.
So that would still, in fact, you can see it went, when I clicked that, it went down, but it didn't go right or left. It just went down a little bit.
I mean, I do like the way this thing, moves when you click on it. So, I've gone down now, but I've never heard of a spectrum of up and down in politics. But, fair enough. I'll go with that.
Oh, maybe we can talk common sense into explaining that part of it in case, because I didn't know about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Do that now. Basically, going upwards on the y-axis would be the fact of saying that it's authoritarianism. Going down on the axis would be libertarianism. Going left will obviously be communism, and going right will be capitalism.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, obviously, we've all now done the first question, so we move on to the second. Mm-hmm. I'll take that as a yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. I said, What you want to revolve reading? What do you want to do?
I don't mind reading and going through it and then saying we can discuss it. I think it'll be quite an interesting stream that way.
Rock and roll.
Individuals have the freedom to decide what they knowingly and voluntarily consume. I'm going to be a big thumbs up for this one. How does everybody else feel about that point?
I'll let you take it first this time. Bob, we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, is this sort of in the vein of if fatties want to eat lots of chocolate cake and they can pretty much do it without state, putting adverts on saying you should consume diet products instead?
No, it's basically saying that if you want to eat chocolate yourself, then you can eat it. If you want to go and eat acid, then you can go and do whatever you want. But it also states that you have to voluntarily and knowingly be able to consume. So meaning that anybody that produces those stuff has to tell you what's in it.
Yes. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
That's where, to me, I'm not going as far thumbs up as I can. And the main reason is because of the last part, what you were, because I've seen that in this. Okay, I believe in truth in advertising, but bear with me. I don't believe in this insane labeling. So if I was to put full thumbs up, that would mean I would believe that everything ever sold would have to have every last ingredient, every calorie. Whiskey would have to have a warning on it, all that. And I don't. As far as cigarettes with a warning on it, that's caused more kids to smoke than anything else in the fucking world. If they made a bloody pack of cigarettes that was called Black Creeping Death, the kids
everybody would be young.
Yeah. So I'm with this, but I'm not going full thumbs up. I'm just going one notch to the left, thumbs up.
That's fair enough. I went full thumbs up because I think everybody should knowingly know what they're putting in their body.
True.
But that's just me. Yeah, that's just me. What did you say you were going to do, Bollocks?
I was actually in the center on that one because of the fact that I think that there is a certain responsibility of the state to at least, sort of. The thing is that there are a very high percentage of people who are thick as pig shit and need to be told not to do certain things. So I'm going to be sort of centrist on this, if you see what I mean. I'm happy for people to do it, but I'm still think the state should have a certain responsibility as well, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But that's a good answer. It's your answer, and that's all that matters. That's what
so you're straight up the middle is what you said. You stayed right where the dot was.
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's fair enough. Shall we move on to the next question?
Yep.
Sure.
Okie dokie. Interesting question, this one. So I'll be interested to hear all of your takes on that one. Slavery is acceptable in certain circumstances, such as punishments for crime. I'm strongly against it, but at the same time, I'm kind of a hypocrite. As I said before, I do believe in community service. But if I agree with that, then I agree with the premise that slavery is acceptable. So that's why I strongly disagree with it in general.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, slavery is a very strong word they've used there, isn't it? Because if you click the furthest to the right with the downvote, I'm assuming you mean no at all. But if you click the one next to it, does that mean not so much slavery, but you expect the criminals to work?
It goes up. Yeah, it goes up to authoritarian.
That's the thing.
Checked out.
It's sort of because if you click on anything but the downvote button, it's almost like you're agreeing to some form of slavery. And I mean, they do obviously make prisoners work, but they do normally get some incentive for it, though, don't they?
Getting extra rations or things like that. It's generally just being able to go outside and providing things for your community. That's the reason why you can just get community service by itself as a punishment.
Yeah.
Which is technically a form of slavery, which is why I say I agree with it, but I can't agree with the premise as the question stated.
Yeah, I know. It's not a great way of putting it, is it? Because
no, definitely not.
Yeah. So I think full on thumbs up. Yeah, you agree that treat the bastards wherever you want, but no, I think yes, they should have to work when they're in prison, but not slavery. They shouldn't just do it for nothing. There's got to be some incentive. So I think I shall click on the one to the one over from the down button.
No, I'm actually against community service. Even blatantly, I've always have been. I'm not just making it up for now. Sorry about the link, folks out there. Very quickly, that's the link I got. It worked for me. It worked for everyone here. I don't know why it wouldn't work out there. I'm sorry if it's not. It's all we got. I was hoping that y'all could play along, but you can play along in your heads with us. But yes, I'm not only am I completely against no community service. You
I'll
either
just put it into the chat as well.
Okay, yeah, and have somebody pay a fine. Now, if it's completely voluntary in the way that, look, no, I don't even know how to say it. No, I'm not even going to waste the time. We got a lot of questions, so no, and for me, never.
That's fair enough. That it makes a decent point. That's exactly the same as me. It's just a slight different premise on giving back to the community. In my idea, your idea is the fact that you're saying, obviously, that any form of that is slavery, which is what the question basically says. So you've answered the question properly, where I haven't. So yeah. So shall we move on to the next question? Everybody ready?
Cheers.
Oh yes.
No problem. Freedom of expression should be unhindered by government regardless of the content. So for you Americans, freedom of speech.
Oh, it's me to go first this time. Sorry. Always. No, there's so many questions. Mine blatantly thumbs up. I don't care. The only time it would be abridged, let's get real, is child pornography. Okay. We don't have to go down that road, right? People are all adults enough to know.
Isn't it? That would be a call of action. So freedom of expression and freedom of speech just covers what's being said.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would be a call to action. It could be argued. The point is not that, but everything else, pornography, daggone weird art like the Podestas have, no, complete thumbs up. There should be no abridgment for freedom of speech short of screaming fire in a crowded theater or kiddie porn.
Yep. I'm completely with that as well. So make that one go even quicker. I'm completely with that. Bollocks, your turn.
Yeah, exactly the same. I'm taking that one up. You know, government should keep out of people's right to say whatever they want.
Well, I think we've covered that very well, and we all have the same principles on that one. So I think we should move on to the next question.
Cheers.
Which hate speech should be banned. Now, listen to the actual question before everybody jumps to a point, because I did this in the live stream. Hate speech should be banned. So the idea of hate speech should be banned.
Is that very loose term again of hate speech that nobody can really define?
Yes, in general. That's why I said listen to the question. It says basically it's saying should hate speech be banned?
Yes.
Or at least that's my understanding. If anybody else has any sort of different understanding of it.
Again, because there's nobody can define what hate speech is except when the state takes exception to something you say, then the premise of the hate speech, as far as I'm concerned, is freedom of speech. So no, it shouldn't be banned.
Yeah. I think I've got the definitions wrong.
What do you mean? Because I've got my answer too, but I want to know what hates. Look,
I got the question
like he
wrong.
said, there is no definition. This is a trick question, Common Sense.
No. I got the premise of the question wrong. I thought it said, should the idea of hate speech be banned? And it's not. Should hate speech actually be banned? I got the premise of the question.
I think it means should hate speech be banned? That ambiguous thing, as Bollock said, that can be. Yeah.
Well, I just know
what's your answer then on that? Since on this and on the idea that should hate speech be banned? What's your answer on that?
Well, I just noticed when I clicked on the downvote, I went further into libertarian, so I'm assuming.
I did too.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that hate speech not being banned means you're more into freedom.
Yeah, that's a dead giveaway. That was a dead giveaway for me too.
That's the reason why I said the premise of my understanding of the questions was wrong. Because last time I put thumbs up for it because I was under the impression that I was banning the idea of hate speech, not enticing the idea of hate speech to be banned in itself.
Well,
so I'm in agreement with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm not going to muck up the waters. I'm not going to muck up the waters. I just who could say anything different that's got logic on their side. So you know that I went all the way thumbs down.
Yep, I've gone all the way thumbs down. Now actually understanding the question because I'm a thicko.
So am I. We're all thick as pig shit. That's out in the thing now. I hope you're happy, Magic Bollocks. It's thick. Everybody's thick.
That's what happens when you listen to me too long. You start picking up my filthy habits.
You know what I heard myself doing yesterday? I said, "What's called?" I said, "What's called?" I don't even know why I said that. I was talking to my cousin. I said, I got to go out there and get some wood. And I looked at him and I realized fucking Magic Bollocks rubbed off on me. I don't even know why I said that. I've never said anything like that in my life. I don't even know what it means. Anyway, it happens.
It's called your brain getting ahead, your mouth getting ahead of your brain, and you can't get the right word out in time.
Yep, pretty much. That's pretty much it.
I just threw it in there because I heard you say it, I guess. I did. Anyway, carry on. It's just so funny how you pick things up from people, and I picked that up from you, apparently.
I think we're done with that question, aren't we, really?
Oh, yeah. That's
yeah. So the next question says, the control of communications by government is necessary so as to prevent the spread of ideas that may undermine the stability of the nation.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I know what I'm going to answer to this one. I strongly disagree with that statement.
It's almost a no-brainer for us lot because, what we do or what we're doing right now.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Magic Bollocks may have a different opinion.
No, actually, I think what they've done there, Common Sense, is they've just described the mandate of the BBC, haven't they?
They have. Literally, they have.
So I'm definitely voting against that. Yeah.
Oh, mercy sake.
Oh, well, that's that question taken care of. So moving on to the next one.
I thought this was supposed to get harder as you go along. This is getting easier.
It does get a little bit harder when it starts talking about economics and then taxation and things like that.
Okay.
Provision of the internet should be socialized and made available for free of charge.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Well, I know what I'm going to put to this one, and I strongly disagree with it.
That's trying to make out that the internet is a human right, isn't it?
Yes, basically.
Yeah, that goes against sort of my capitalistic ideals, that is.
Yep.
Which is if you want to use the internet, pay for it.
Exactly. For myself, anyway. That's what it is for me. What about you, Sir Ogre?
Oh, I'm happy. It's just nudged me to the right.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to say that it's all the same to me. Of course, we don't want to violate the rights of others.
Yep.
I mean, it's Yeah, I'm just going to second, as you know what I vote. I'm going to second that they'll get harder. I've watched this whole thing, but to me, all of these come down to, I wonder how. Oh, I mean, come on, mates. I think Magic Bollocks had it right earlier before the stream when it's like, if we could just have a couple chuckleheads on, because it's hard to believe that there are people out there that aren't, going, in this direction. But yeah, carry on. Next one.
I still think that all three of us are going to have different outcomes for the next couple of questions. I do honestly feel that.
It looks that way.
People should be free. Sorry, moving on to the next question. If we haven't already, people should be free to engage or abstain from religious activities that do not violate the rights of others. I know what way I'm voting on that one. How's everybody else?
Yeah, go ahead, Magic Bollocks. You go first.
Right. Let me just make sure I understand this. This basically means that you are within your right to be, to be part of a religious sect or to be a complete atheist. Basically, your religious belief is your own so long as it's not affecting anybody else.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Same.
Yeah, totally agree with it.
Yep. Big, massive thumbs up from me.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking religious activities. Oh, of course. I mean, now I've got to say that one thing. There are places where Santeria is illegal. I would just say I've got to go. All right, listen. This is going to be unpopular, but I don't agree with that. In Santeria, they kill chickens, sometimes pigs. Sometimes they do it in ways that seem like torture to us that don't go with that religion. And they're doing it so in the pig or chicken or dove, or sometimes they use different animals, so they can see what's going on as they're writhing in pain. And they read the sign in that. Hey, look, listen, sorry.
No, I can
want
agree
these
with
animals.
you on some aspect. I can agree with you on some aspect, especially with something like Islam in itself. It's for creating halal meat, where you slit the throat and then put the animal upside down so it drains all the blood. Generally, the animal is still alive while the blood's being drained.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely agree with the fact that some religions, parts of it, shouldn't be practiced. I agree with that. So I completely understand your premise on that point.
So anyway, I did take a lot of wind up. So carry on. We got a lot of questions left. I just don't think that religion should be infringed if it's not hurting a human being. Okay, period. If it's some ancient rite that like when you were going to be a Praetorian Guard, if somebody wanted to reinstate that old Roman tradition and gut a bull above me while the entrails and blood ran down over me, and I was made a patrician, well, then so be it. To hell with the cow. We kill these things and eat them. When did we get to be so sensitive about nothing? And that is really it for that. I mean, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's the whole point of doing the compass, to be able to show people how and what we actually think and feel, to show that we don't actually always agree and believe in the same things. We are three different people with three different political identities. That's why I found this so interesting. So I think all of us have answered that last question, haven't we?
Yep. Certainly. Cheers.
Yep, no worries. Moving on to the next question then. Blasphemy laws should be reinstated.
Oh, God. Bollocks, you better take us one first.
Yeah, that's a big fat fuck you to that one, because I know what would happen is if blasphemy laws would be brought in, it wouldn't be for Christianity or Judeo beliefs, would it?
Nope.
Yeah, Charlie Hebdo comes straight to mind.
Just a tad.
Yeah. Yeah, no chance. Not while
Well, now they're saying just recently it's been all over the news that they asked for it. No shit, man. Just the last week they asked for it.
By the fact that they drew, yeah, exactly. By the fact that they drew the prophet, they asked for it. They knew what was going to happen.
Oh, right. Does that mean the girls in Cologne were asking for it as well? Were they?
No, it's what they were wearing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. There is no asking for it, because I see it all the time. People make fun of Jesus, and I'm not even going to say with the things that I say. I don't like it, but what are you going to do? I'm going to tell somebody, anybody out there. I'm a Christian. Everybody knows it. I'm not going to go into some sermon, right? I'm just going to say this. Anybody out there that goes up to someone and says, "You're gay, you're going to hell," or "Look at that picture you painted of Jesus, it's offensive to me, you're going to hell," you better look in the mirror, or you don't read the same book I do, because that ain't your job to say that shit. Shut up.
Yeah,
So
I
no
agree with that.
blasphemy laws, period.
Yep. So I take it that we're actually all in agreement again. So that's quite good.
I can't believe my dot keeps going to the fucking left. It's killing me. I'm a lefty.
You could well be. You could well be.
It looks like just carry on. We'll see. Time will tell.
Government action should neither aid nor attack any religion. So government action should neither aid nor attack any religion. I know what way I would go on that way. I know what way I'd go, and if I'll go first. I actually have to say I completely agree with that one. Wait, hang on a minute. Government action should neither aid. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, I completely agree with that one. To strongly agree as well. Not even slightly. I strongly agree.
Yeah. I suppose in theory, it should be that the government should keep its nose out of
everything.
Pretty much everything. Yeah. The only thing I would say is that I don't know if anybody's noticed, we've had a couple of incidents over the last few years with what do they call it again? Oh yeah, the religion of peace. They've been literally spontaneously combusting with love and I don't know how our armed forces are supposed to deal with that. I suppose by doing a vigil and saying well, at least they died doing something they believed. It's just a shame they took so many innocents with them as well.
Jeez, oh Pete.
So this question is, are they trying to imply that
I think it's trying to imply the right of being able to practice. That doesn't mean going and them not shooting somebody that's going to form a jihad or attack somebody else. I think it's the form of being able to practice what religion they want.
Yeah, it's just the fact that nor attack any religion. But I'll give them the stay out of it until they start doing things that are in violation of a country's law. So that's fine.
Yeah. We're not even going to take any time, because as long as it's what Bollock says, in other words, as long as they don't attack until said religious people are holding AK-47 shooting at other folks or spontaneously combusting in a pizza parlor in Tel Aviv.
So does that mean
as long as it's not that, then we're okay. All right, don't do it.
That's fine.
I got a big thumb way up on that. Don't do it.
Yeah. Does that mean both of you are only slightly agreeing on that then?
No, I'm fully agreeing on it.
Fully agreeing. What about you, sir? What about you, Ogre? Are you fully agreeing or only slightly agreeing?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I thought I just said it. Mrs. Ogre's looking for a mop that I may have stolen and put on the back porch. But yes, I'm totally thumbs up on this one for sure.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Let's move on to the next one then. Religious organizations should not be exempt from taxation. So religious organizations should not be exempt from taxation. I know what way I go on this one.
Yeah, I'm full thumbs down. I think they should absolutely be exempt as long as they are a true religious organization that is a not-profit. So their budget would have to show that they, are only supporting themselves, and that's it. If they have a huge, I've worked for several churches, and have all been honest churches. So at the end of the year, there's not any red or black ink. At the end of the year, each year, we had to show an even budget because we were a nonprofit. Now, people exploit this. Look, I can't go too long on this because I would, and I know a lot about this. People exploit that. So once you're caught exploiting the tax-exempt purpose, and to me, that means showing in the black, people making money, then you're done. But other than that, no, I think if you're Buddhist, Scientologist even, I'll go there, Mormon, whoever. If you're a nonprofit, you should not be paying taxes.
I am of the opposite opinion. I believe that every organization that makes money should be taxed.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I believe it too, because there's so many companies these days. I know the housing association who owns houses in my street have recently written to the residents saying that they're now going to register themselves as a charity, and they gave a list of mile-longs about why they're doing it. But of course, they don't mention the real reason, where it's just a massive tax dodge.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we should be allowing them to register as charities. If you make money, regardless, however you make it, you get taxed on it. So yeah, I'm with Common Sense on this one.
It's so funny, Common Sense, because you were going a little to the right and I was going to a little to the left. And with that question, us answering it on opposite sides of the spectrum, we both went center again.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, I'm done. Carry on with the next question. I just thought that was freaking hilarious right there.
So obviously we've all finished that question. So you have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide is a valid statement. So you have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide is a valid statement. How do we feel about that one? I know what I personally feel. I've explained it before, but
I said, show me your warrant and go kiss my ass and pound sand. I know what this means. I put thumbs all the way down. I can have nothing that I feel like is really something to hide, and that don't give you any business. Get the fuck out of my sock drawer. Stay out of my business. Stay out of my life. Bring a warrant or get the hell out.
It's fair enough. How do you feel on that one, Bollocks?
Yeah, again, that's just the excuse, isn't it, for old things like Theresa May's lovely little Snoopers Charter, isn't it? Oh, don't worry. If you're totally innocent, there's nothing to worry about. If we just examine every single bit of data you transfer over the internet, fuck off.
Fuck off.
No, that's fair enough. I'm in the camp there where I slightly agree with this statement, and only slightly, because I have reservations about anything that happens inside my castle. No, I don't care what happens outside, so to speak. You can follow me to Kingdom Come. I don't really give a shit. But to the fact of inside my castle, I would disagree with this. But that's why I have to slightly agree, because I agree with it outside, but not inside. So that's why I slightly agree.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So, this one will be interesting. Government transparency is vital to ensuring accountability.
Yeah.
So, government transparency is vital to ensuring accountability.
Yeah, they're having a laugh, aren't they? That's a bit like asking, can we have the EU audited, isn't it?
Oh dear. I agree, but the premise you have to remember it's the premise of the question, not how we actually perceive it to be. Yeah, so do we believe that if government transparency, as in if the government was open with us, do we think that would ensure accountability? That's how we've got to answer the question.
Of course. Yeah, thumbs up, all the way up.
Yep, that's the same for me. If in an ideal world, on that point, it's exactly how I would see. If the government was transparent, they couldn't hide anything. There would be no form of corruption because everything would be out in the open. If that was actually going to happen. Wunderbar.
Yeah. I must admit, if I was writing that question, I would have been laughing because it's a pipe dream, isn't it?
Exactly. So I think we all strongly agreed with that one, did we?
For sure.
Yep,
cool. Oh, government surveillance should be expanded to combat terrorism. So government surveillance should be expanded to combat terrorism. So all goes back to that 2 questions ago, doesn't it?
Oh, you mean the spontaneous combustion? Yeah.
Your CCTV over there and the money that y'all spend and having people look at monitors and catching folks pissing on the side of buildings is ridiculous. I watched a reality show from your country where a bloke had to relieve himself, in the way that you can't stand up if you're a man to relieve yourself. And he found himself a nice little place and he was relieving himself, and then they've seen him on the camera and they had bobbies there before the bloke was done, and they're like dragging him out of there. What's more obscene, the man finding a bush and doing his thing, or dragging his bloody self out of there in the middle of doing his thing? I couldn't believe that. It's like, anyway, no, closed circuit TV is ridiculous, shouldn't be used. It can't go to court, it can't testify against you. They say, oh yeah, you can play that. No, I hate to go back, but we should have the same rules that we did 250, 300 years ago. In other words, if it can't be cross-examined, and you can't cross-examine a videotape, that's it. It can't be done. Hell, didn't you lot over there invent freedom with the Magna Carta and whatnot? Why is this still going on today?
Because we didn't invent a fucking constitution. That's why.
Shit, well, it didn't help us. You know, because they're just trampling on that. They use that for toilet paper. Like I was talking about the Quran. Anyway, there's me. Total thumbs down on government. Government should not be expanded. No.
No worries. What's your opinion on that one, then, bollocks?
Wasn't it ironic that because of government policy in the West, the reason we have all this terrorism now is because of that? So it's because of government interference that means they now need all this supposed surveillance of all these terrorists.
Right.
So I am not going to support the government in another escapade of supposedly making us safe when doing the completely opposite.
Fair enough. I'm under the opinion of slightly agree, as I was before.
There you go. That's why I love you, man. You ain't afraid to make the tough decisions. I still can't see how our balls are in the same place, because your balls seem bigger than mine, and yet they're... I'll just make those.
My balls seem to be quite lower than yours at the moment, Common Sense.
Yes. I noticed mine are quite lower also.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's not a problem.
Wing into the... Yeah, let's carry on.
This isn't a competition, boys.
Yeah, stop trying to beat your liberalism. People should be secure. Go on.
Oh, no, I was just still laughing. I was clearing my throat. Go carry on.
People should be secure in their persons, homes, property, and communications. So people should people should be secure in their persons, homes, property, and communications.
That's the oh man. I'll pull this up for you so that you know what it is. That is an amendment in our Constitution, almost word for word.
Damn.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever y'all think. I'll just save what I think. I'm just going to read a little something for y'all.
No problem. Well, mine is I strongly agree. People should be secure in their persons, homes, and property and communications. So yeah. I strongly agree with that one.
Yeah, so do I. What sort of how can you make yourself secure in your own home? Is that the right to defend your home?
Yes, you should be secure. You should be able to defend your home, defend your persons.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, for me, this is what I'll say. It is the right for. I got some company. I may have to boogie for just like 5 or 10 minutes, Common Sense, but I'm not going to leave the stream. I'll just leave it to you, lads, and I'm sure you can handle it. I want to say this very quickly. In our idea, that isn't part of it. It doesn't go into securing the home. That's the Second Amendment. Gives you the right to. But this is what I would say. The Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Nowadays, they could write out a warrant for anything and come and take other stuff. The Constitution says, if you write a warrant that says we want to search this house because we think there's methamphetamine in there, and then the judge says, okay, you have probable cause, looks like you think it's there, go, and then they come in and they find cocaine. No. Nowadays, what they do is they say, oh, but you're letting bad guys go. Yeah, because it's the law.
Yep.
And if you don't go with that law, you are a bad guy because you're trampling on the Constitution, which says you have to say what things you are there to search and or seize. You can't just write a warrant, go search someone's house, and if you find, I don't care, I'll use the worst thing like I did before, kiddie porn. I don't care what you find. If the warrant ain't for that, you calmly put it down, turn around and leave, and try to be a better cop next time. This is where I don't buy into all this blue shit. These cops are so lazy nowadays, they don't want to do any work. They just want people to bust themselves. So I think I said enough. Let me go see what my guest wants. I'm sure you got this, Common Sense. I'll be back directly.
Not a problem, my friend. Not a problem. Well, obviously, you agree as well then, Magic Bollocks. We're both on thumbs up.
Oh, definitely on that one, yeah.
No problem. Well, let's move on to the next question. I know Ogre would be able to catch up with us. He'd be able to catch up with us quite quickly. So what we'll do is we'll just move on. Right. So next question is, in order to solve crimes, the police need the power to conduct searches and seizures without consent or a warrant.
Ooh, now that is interesting.
Well, I can tell you what my point is on this one. I strongly disagree with this one.
So you're saying that without actual court-issued warrant, then the police should not be able to search, seize, basically on their own merit then?
No, I completely disagree with the word consent.
Oh, okay.
And that's the reason why. That's the reason why I'm going to strongly disagree with it, because it says without consent.
Are you thinking the old coppers with a little bag of heroin that they throw out and say, "Oh, look what I've just found in your pocket," and then yeah, I know what you mean. How would you feel if that came under the guise of stop and search?
Well, it does come under the guise of stop and search.
So are you anti-stop and search?
I am anti-stop and search. As I am anti-stop and search as long as it's a case of somebody actually has a probable cause. I don't mean smoking a cigarette at the end of the street just because you're wearing a hoodie.
Okay, yeah. See, I do agree with you, but at the same time, one of the main problems the old bill have these days is the amount of bureaucracy they've got to deal with. I reckon the average Bobby now probably spends about 30% of his time on the beat and the rest of his time filling in paperwork.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
And I am in the mindset of the less bureaucracy the police have to deal with, the better. But obviously, like you said, then there is always that possibility of, and I don't want to make this sound too iffy, but bent coppers.
Yeah, I mean, it's the premise of the actual question. It's in order to solve crimes that you have the power to conduct searches and seizures without consent or a warrant.
Yeah, which is basically they can then solve a crime in whatever means necessary, can't they?
Yes. Because it's the without consent that really gets me, and that's why I'm against it. If it didn't have the without consent and just had conduct searches and seizures with a warrant, then I'd be absolutely fine with that. Or with consent and a warrant, then I'd be fine with that. I'd say, yeah, that's fine. But it's without the consent that's got me on that one. So that's why I'm against it.
I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to stay neutral on that one. I'm going to put it smack bang in the centre, because I do believe the old bill need to, they've got far too much bureaucracy at the moment. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to give them complete full range, which is, they could just basically nick someone, no paper trails or anything like that. And, because we've seen it in the past, haven't we, where there's been many bungled police investigations. I mean, one of the most famous ones was, of course, the Birmingham 6, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it the Birmingham 7? Where, of course, they
forced... It was 7, because it was
always
linked with the Magnificent 7, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the way the police basically nicked 7 Irishmen and then made them confess by basically saying that they were going to make life hell for their families if they didn't. I imagine these days is they wouldn't have bothered, because the paperwork would have probably taken 6 months to fill out before they'd ever got in that interview room. So, I'm going to stay on the fence on that one, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's not a problem.
Yep.
So you're centrist on that one, and I am strongly against it, so that's not a problem. Oh, lovely. Sexual orientation, preference, gender, or gender identity should have no impact on the government's treatment of individuals. So sexual orientation, sexual preference, or sexual gender, or gender identity should have no impact on the government's treatment of individuals. So, what's your opinion on that one?
If it means if the government is basically not going to take your sexual orientation, preference, gender, whatever into account, you're just treated as a person, then I'm fine with it. It's when they're pandering to one or another that I have a problem. Yeah,
which is why it says should have no impact on the government's treatment of individuals.
Well, if that's what it does mean, then I'm assuming, I'm going to take your word for that. Common sense, then that's a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, well, that's what it says. It says sexual orientation, preference, blah, 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 gender identity should have no impact on the government's treatment of individuals. Yeah. So that's why I will be a big thumbs up on that one as well.
Well,
I do notice if you click on the down vote, it actually pushes you more to authoritarian. So I like that.
it does. It does it as you're actually doing it. That's why it's
Yeah.
interesting. So have we both moved on to the next question now?
Yep.
Yep. Government should have the authority to define, license, or restrict personal relationships. So government should have the authority to define, license, or restrict personal relationships. Now I know where I'm going with this one. I'm strongly disagreeing.
Should define, license, or restrict personal relationships.
Indeed, yes, and it should have the authority to be able to do all those.
Right. The only one I can think that there might be a sort of a slight issue is if you were saying that I strongly disagree, government should keep out of how people want to be in personal relationships, then you're basically allowing like the muzzies to have as many wives as they want, and you're allowing things like incest, which is because the government should keep it. If a brother and sister want to fuck, they can fuck, and if they have a kid with swiveling eyes and 13 toes, and if that they then have a brother and sister and they want to fuck and they produce even more freaks. So there has to be a limit, I think. There's got to be certain government's got to say no to certain things, because obviously, especially around where I live, there has been cases of that before.
Yeah, there has been around our little area. There's a factor of an actual little village called Skipton that is supposed to be the inbred breeding ground for the county I'm in.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to. I think what I'll do is I'll probably put it in the not quite a thumbs up. That one.
Slightly agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll quickly go over the premise of why I strongly disagree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I strongly disagree with that statement is because it says government. It doesn't say anything about social issues or social contracts. It says government. The reason why I strongly disagree with that is because I believe under the social contract in itself that we would actually socially disavow people that would actually do that and do incest or go with young children or whatever. And we would generally have the same types of relationships we would have now. And that's the reason why I don't think government should interfere in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think socially we'd sort it all out.
Yep.
Personally. Oh, yay. Consenting adults should be free to choose their own sexual practices and personal relationships. The key in this one is consenting adults should be free to choose their own sexual practices.
Right. Yeah, again, in theory, yes, but consenting adult. Oh, yeah, I see what they've done there.
Yeah.
If it said consenting adult, then yeah. Yeah, it was, well, as long as they're over the age of consent and, they're obviously not filming a snuff film or anything like that, or even if it's just one adult on his own and he just bought Susie, he's fine to do what he wants with her as long as he's not doing anything particularly too perverse. So I only just mentioned that because I know she's in the chat as well. Hello, Susie. So I will go with you on that one. Yeah, if you're an adult over the age of consent and you're, if you want to pour hot wax into each other's backsides or whatever you have to, it's entirely up to you. Just don't put it on the internet.
Because it will remember forever. Oh, this will be an interesting one without going too in depth into the actual idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
Access to abortion should be regulated by the government. I'll let you go first.
Now, this abortions is a very interesting. I think it's the first time I ever had a debate as a kid at secondary school when it was RE class and they were talking about abortion, and some of us were given the chance to argue for and against. Yeah. And I am not the world's biggest fan of abortion personally, because it comes down to this whole thing that I couldn't can't kill animals to save my life. I cannot end the life. And to me, ending a life in such a manner is it does it. I understand why some people do it, and in a sort of the way with Jacob Rees-Mogg when he was tackled against it, you know, we're not in a position to change what is the law. Okay, that is how it is. But at the same time, I'm still entitled to my opinion. And I think if the government doesn't regulate something like abortion, you don't want the old backstreet, you know, heroin addict and doctor with a coat hanger scenario, do you? It really does need to be sort of properly regulated and properly checked. And obviously, for a woman who's having an abortion, you have to make absolutely certain this is the right thing for her. You don't want 6 months down the line her an emotional wreck because she suddenly decided what she did was wrong. Yeah. So I think in this case, yes, it should be regulated by the government.
So is that a strongly agree or a slightly agree?
I think that's going to, again, that's the trouble as some kind of anarchist as I seem to have been thus far. There are certain things I think the state should do, and I think if we are going to allow abortions, then yes, it should be heavily regulated. Then yes, I strongly agree.
That's fair enough. I'm going to slightly disagree from the premise of the fact that I don't think that we should have abortions in the first place, apart from particular situations, i.e. being raped or molested by family or strangers. So on that premise, I'm going to slightly disagree because I don't believe it should be regulated by anybody because I don't think it should be there. But the reason why I'm only slightly disagreeing rather than completely disagreeing is for the fact of what I said before.
Yeah.
It needs to be there for particular purposes. So that's why I'm only slightly disagreeing.
Well, I think me and you were on the same page there, obviously, because I'm with you. I don't really agree with abortion. But because it is legal and it isn't going to change, then my attitude is that then it has to be regulated in the way that it is, because of the fact that if it isn't, you know, you could get these scenarios where you've got, you know, women who just get pregnant, you know, could be smack. It could be anything, you know, situations.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, that's my thing. It's not because I necessarily agree with it. It's because it is there, and we now have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. The only thing that I would no, I'm not actually going to say anything like that. I'm not. This is about opinion rather than actually talking about different policies. So no, that's fine. We'll just carry on.
Yeah,
on that one. Yeah, no, we've both given our reasons. There's no point me trying to change your mind or vice versa. So it doesn't really matter on that side. So we'll not have a debate.
It's the trouble with abortion is that it's such a delicate subject, and obviously some people are very emotionally involved in it. And as somebody who's never had to deal with it, I can only give my own personal opinion. So you know, yeah.
Exactly. And that's what this test is for. At the end of the day, it's not for me to try and change what your ideology is, and it's not for you to change mine. We're literally just doing a test. This is not a debate stream, if you know what I mean. It's just a test stream. So, no, that's fine. It's just me trying to stem my own ignorance and trying to change other people's minds.
Oh, I think we've lost a chance for super chat today now, haven't we?
Damn it.
Please give us some money. We're very poor.
Yes, very, very.
Right. On we go.
Criminal law. Yep, moving on. Criminal law should be limited to violation of the rights of others through force or fraud. So criminal law should be limited to violation of the rights of others through force or fraud. What do you think on that one?
Well, initially, I look at that and I think, oh, that's interesting, because I obviously believe we probably do have too many laws, too much bureaucracy. Criminal should be limited to violations of the rights of others through force or fraud. I don't know on that one, Common Sense. I'd be interested in your opinion first.
That's fine. That's not a problem. I'm going to slightly disagree with that fact, simply because it doesn't state anything about theft or robbery or taking personal property away. Now, I understand that it says fraud, but theft in itself is not fraud. You could try to argue the fact, oh, it's nicking money. Yeah, fraud is trying to defame somebody to get money off of them. Now, if I go into a person's school or house or whatever and I nick a pencil, that's theft. Petty theft, but it's still theft. And I think that should be put into there. I don't think it should be just force or fraud. So that's why I'm going to slightly disagree.
Do you know what? I'm starting to think what they're suggesting there is that only, what's it say, violation of rights through force or fraud, and then any other crime, like you just said, theft, will be classed as a civil case, wouldn't it? Yes. So yeah, it's not exactly against the law, but it is still breaking the law. So yeah, I mean, that's like that old joke, isn't it, about how in Amsterdam that they solved the burglary problem by legalizing it.
Yes, yeah.
So that's not really going to work, is it? So I think I'm going to go for the same thing you've done, which is slightly disagree, because of the fact that I agree that there's too many laws, but some laws we probably should keep for the sake of, well, just, I mean, it's bad enough now. Yeah. I mean, it's bad enough now for a vast majority of crimes you ring up for in this country. I mean, you don't dial 999 anymore. It's 111, isn't it? And if something gets stolen from your back garden, all you'll get from the police these days is a crime number to give to your insurer to get a replacement.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you feel that they're taking that crime seriously. So, yeah, and I'm sure they would love this for it to be civil, because then it would be on your head to find whoever nicked your stuff and then actually take him to court yourself on your own cost. Oh dear, oh dear. Don't tell me I'm on my own. Does that mean I've got to actually try and derail this thing? Oh dear, maybe I should.
No, I'm actually here, but my bro that was here, if you can hear me, his car died. It's very cold here. I've got to go jump it now. No, I'm here. I don't know what's been going on. I tried to keep up by looking at the thing and keep answering questions. Is Common Sense gone?
Common Sense is
no,
gone.
I'm not.
Oh, here he is.
No, I'm not.
I can hear you now.
No, I'm not. I'm still here.
Good. Oh, no, I thought I had to video share some porn then.
No,
is Common Sense gone?
No, he's here.
I'm still here. Yeah, so no victim, no crime is a valid statement. Me personally, yeah, no victim, no crime is a valid statement. Me personally, I would slightly agree, not wholeheartedly, but slightly agree. But the reason why it's slightly is because if you're a victim of theft, that's still a case of it hasn't physically affected you, but you're still a victim. I suppose it still comes underneath. I know what this is supposed to do. This is supposed to be the point of saying taxation. And trying to do something along that, because you can go down the lines of saying that every crime is a victim crime until it comes to taxation, because then it's only the government that's the victim, not anybody else. So, actually, no. Considering I've just said that, I'm going to go with strongly agree.
No victim, no crime. Because I was going to say is that every crime there is a victim, otherwise it's not a crime.
Yeah.
Apart
from taxation.
Apart from taxation, what is saying?
Because that's government issues then.
So in other words, you're saying if you're ripping off the government by not paying your tax, then you're saying that there's technically no victim because it's the government.
That's the way that this is trying to frame it. But I actually agree, but the only victim is the government, so there isn't actually a victim.
Right. Because technically, even though they are the government, it's still you could say they are still the victim, can't you? Even though it is the government as opposed to an individual.
Not particularly, because then it's the state that's the victim. That's the point of the government. It's the point that the government is the victim. But then you could counteract that argument by saying that you were being forcibly told to do something anyway, so technically you're a victim of the crime first, and it's just escalated.
Yeah.
There's lots of different arguments to that point. But I like the premise of saying no victim, no crime, and I think that's a valid statement.
Yeah, I can see both ways on this one, because not paying the government their tax. I mean, well, it's like every tradesman who takes cash in hand. They're sort of guilty of a crime in the sense that they're avoiding paying tax on the money they've earned.
Yep.
But and yes, they can if they get caught, they can be convicted for it. But you never see a government minister on TV in tears, feeling that he's been, ripped off by these horrible tradesmen who haven't, Philip Hammond, with his hands in his face, saying not only have we got Brexit, but we've also got tradesmen not paying their fair share.
Exactly.
So I tell you what, I will semi-agree with that one, yes, because I can see where you're coming from with that one, yeah.
That's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Ogre's still with us, but we're going to be moving on to the next question. I'm going to assume he's not, so I'm going to carry on quickly, not unless he pops in.
Mm-hmm.
Banned medicinal and recreational drugs should remain illegal.
Now I'm going to let you go first on this, because I imagine you've got some very strong views.
I do and I don't. I only slightly agree with this one, believe it or not, because I do believe that there are some drugs like magic mushrooms that are in the B and A class drugs. I believe that they should be able to come out and they should be legalized, same as obviously I believe that weed should be as well. I believe that should be legalized. There are drugs that I believe that shouldn't be legalized, but that's only my opinion. Things like heroin and crack cocaine and things like that. But those are my opinions. So that's why I slightly agree with it. Slightly disagree. Slightly disagree with it. Rather than slightly agree, slightly disagree with it. I can't wholeheartedly disagree with it, because otherwise that would be a breach of my principles. But then at the same time, I can't agree with it because I don't think that the drugs at this moment in time are in the right classification in themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm going to slightly disagree with that.
I don't really know enough about the medical recreational drugs. I mean, obviously know about weed and skunk and all the others that and like you said, mushrooms. It's nice to say that, well, we should leave it to the government to sort that out. They've got access to all the correct health authorities, but again, you just don't know what their actual agenda is. So yeah, it's a difficult one. It's like going back to that one about should the government really be telling people what they're allowed to put in their bodies, be it chocolate cake or
exactly
smoking a bit of a spliff every now and then.
Exactly. And before you decide, I'll quickly ask you a question. If marijuana was so bad, why are Americans now starting to legalize it as medicinal and recreational? Why are they starting to legalize it again? If it was supposed to be so bad to begin with.
Oh, I agree with you. That
I'm just saying, think of the premise of the question. Yeah. As in the question that's been said on the internet and what I've just asked you. And then think, if you agree with that, then there's something that you might need to think about.
Yeah. No, I agree. We know the reason why was because, of course, mainly the war on drugs.
Yep.
And I should imagine the reason they're legalizing it now is because those particular states are probably desperate for some kind of taxation. And so it's that great double standard, isn't it? They're telling you 1 minute that this stuff is dangerous, you shouldn't be taking it, and next minute, oh no, it's perfectly fine, go out and help yourself. So
I would think, I'd think the reason why they're legalizing it is not just to do with the taxation, but the fact of the medical properties for cannabinoids. The fact that opiates at this moment in time are causing an epidemic in the US, where with cannabinoids it would strongly reduce everything, and all you would need to do is either breathe in the steam or ingest the THC. So it reduces a hell of a lot more. The health benefits are quite universal.
Mm. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I personally don't have a problem with, people want to, take drugs or eat shit food if they want. And the government should pretty much keep out of it. I suppose the only time it ever becomes a problem, of course, is, when it starts to affect your health, if it ever does. And if you've got, like we've got in this country, a, state-run health healthcare, then there comes a point of, is there a certain level of responsibility on you to be a certain level of health to be able to access these services?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if you, regardless of your lifestyle, if you're paying tax, paying your national insurance, then really, no matter what you've done, you should still be entitled to it. So, well, that's a moral debate for another day. I'm going to say, sort of disagree.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's exactly what I've done. I've slightly disagreed with it.
Yeah. Okay.
All good.
Yep.
Moving on. Police, fire, and ambulance services should be provided by the market.
What, the free market?
Yes, privatization. Police, fire, and ambulance should be privatized.
Oh, we can have the police, fire, and ambulance all run by OCP.
Or whoever, yeah.
Yeah, that's a definite no from me. Especially law enforcement, you can't have private companies running the police, because what happens when the managing director is actually discovered to be committing major fraud or running people trafficking? Do you really think a company that runs the police is going to allow for that person to be arrested and sent to jail? In the same way, I'd like to think that our police will even arrest the Prime Minister if she ever did anything particularly illegal that they could prove. And the fire and ambulance, that's a bit more. See, the trouble is with the state and the private sector, neither are particularly that great when you look at it overall, because you've got one side that's always guaranteed money and tends to get very bureaucratic and very bloated, and one side that's only really chasing profit for shareholders. So, but I do believe that the market in most areas of society should be left to the free market, because the free market will sort it out. But things like emergency services, I do actually think the state should run personally.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I did this, I picked slightly agree. Simply because I thought that the police force would be able to run as a privatized company. But you did throw up a very, very good point, that if the managing director of a single police force was able to do that, I think with myself, I probably had the preconception that every city would have a different police force.
Mm-hmm.
Simply as some might even have 2 or 3, depending on the area of where they go and what they do. The same as there's never one, or there never used to be just one Woolworths in a big area.
Yeah. I mean, I must admit, Common Sense, I am just ripping off, the script from RoboCop here. But
I know.
It is actually a good point about, if you privatize things like the police and the emergency services, there's always that doubt. And the very fact as well that even though it might be a big corporation, they can still go bust.
Exactly.
And then what happens to the police?
Well, that's exactly what my point was for fire. See, I don't think that the police would ever lose in any sort of given town or county or state for America. I don't think they would ever lose enough money to go bankrupt, simply because you think of the crime rates, they're always quite high, whatever country you go to. So they'd always be able to function. Fire services, on the other hand, that one I think would end up going bust, simply because, luckily enough, with higher fire safeties, I know there's been buildings, obviously, in the past that have gone up in flames, and recently, very, very recently.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I don't think you could privatize the fire companies. I really don't think, because it wouldn't benefit. You would actually have to have a fire every week to be able to make any sort of money for those local services. Now, I don't know what the statistics are, but I assuming that any sort of call out would obviously diminish for like getting cats out of trees and things like that, would diminish because you would have to pay the fire service. So I don't think the fire service in itself would actually survive the free market, simply because I don't think there's enough demand for it.
Yeah.
Ambulance services, I think that would actually work quite well. For each pickup, you get a certain bill, and the bill can come from the hospital itself, or it could come from the person. It depends on the semantics. So the ambulance service itself, yeah, it could work. But if you mean hospitals themselves are generally regulated by the free market in America anyway, as in insurance and stuff like that. So that kind of works already. But just for the simple fact of the fire service and the fact that the police service in itself could be controversial and could not be fallible, or wouldn't be infallible, sorry. Simply because other people could, as you said, bollocks, could actually destroy the company in itself by just doing raping or pillaging and then telling the other police force not to come anywhere near it.
Yeah.
So I would have to slightly disagree. I wouldn't wholeheartedly disagree, but I'm going to slightly disagree. Just on this occasion.
Sorry about that, lads.
That's all right,
It's negative 8 degrees Celsius out. My bro his car wouldn't start.
That's fine, mate.
It's just a battery. Some people, he could buy a battery if he wanted to, but some people will just let things go to the bitter end, even if it's bitter cold. So I gave him a jump. Did I miss the whole thing? Y'all are talking about it like it was the end.
No, mate, no, we're not even halfway through yet, unfortunately. We're talking about things too much.
Well, yeah, I thought this would be at least 2 streams. It's not to worry. But so what was the last question? Because I was answering him as I was speaking to him. I was trying to be a jerk, but I told him everybody knows what I do and when I do it, so I didn't know what else to do. So I was at individuals who voluntarily assume risk of physical harm to themselves or a burden on society, and such behavior should be banned. That was the last one I answered.
That's exactly where we are at this moment in time.
Oh, really? Good. Okay.
Yeah. So we're all.
I'm not trying to crack on. I'll be quiet again and try to catch up to the conversation. Thanks for carrying on, Les.
That's all right. It's not a problem, mate. Not a problem at all. So yeah, as I said, individuals who voluntarily assume risk of physical harm to themselves are a burden on society, and such behavior should be banned. My premise on this is strongly disagree.
Yeah, I think mine would as well, because assume risk of physical harm, that could be just somebody who plays football on a Saturday, couldn't it?
No, it's assume risk of harm. That means that they have a very strong possibility of doing it or wanting to do it.
Football could cause harm, but I'm guessing you're leaning more towards skydiving. But I would say that if you give them a little bit, that it would end up being what Magic Bollocks just said.
Yeah,
no, for me, sorry, it's who voluntarily assume risk of physical harm to themselves are a burden on society. In my head, I'm thinking of mentally ill people.
Oh, I know what you mean, Common Sense, but I think it is a bit more broad than that. It's that anybody who's engaging in any kind of physical activity where there is a risk of harm. So I said, even just doing, because you sometimes get companies who get pissy with their employees because they are constantly getting injured from sporting activities, whatever, and then needing time off on the sick.
Yeah.
So this is what it kind of sounds like to me, which is, no, you can't punish people, because otherwise you just have everybody at home twiddling their thumbs.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so no, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I'm still under the same premise.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Ogre's under the same premise as well. I strongly disagree with that statement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I already said it. Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just move on then. Restitution should be paid to victims at the expense of the criminal or negligent wrongdoer.
That's a tough one for me. So I'd like to go last, but this was definitely a tough one for me.
So are they saying if you get mugged or beaten up by somebody, then the cost of it should be by the criminal, not the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fine. But what if, because, you know, a lot of criminals are people at the lower social end of the spectrum, thus they don't have any money. So how are you going to get something off them that they don't have?
Slavery.
Yeah, well, we talked about that, but that was my thoughts. I went a full thumbs up on this, but it's still difficult. Only because I went full thumbs up because it sounds good. In the Weltschmerz, that's the world that I want it to be, as opposed to the world that is. I would say that in reality, it's not. But you know, I wish it was that way.
Yeah, see, that's why I slightly disagree with the statement. In the whole broadness of the actual point, it would be amazing if you could actually be able to get those ideas. And if you could, I'd be on your premise of going, yeah, I strongly agree with it. But in the world that we live in, it's not going to work. You wouldn't be able to get money off of a person who's trying to rob $20 out of a purse just because you walk down an alleyway the wrong way. You're not going to be able to get any money off of that person. So that's why I would slightly disagree. I like the idea. The premise of it's really good, but in reality, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, I'm going smack bang in the middle. The idea that what they should do is they go after the criminal first to see what they can get off of him. Even if it's not money, seize assets if need be. But
yeah,
it shouldn't just automatically come out of the taxpayer's pocket, if possible.
You make actually a really good point there. Go after the asset. That makes assets. That makes a lot more better sense to me. So I'm actually going to change my answer just because of that. I'm actually going to go slightly agree because that makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
If the person's got no money but has assets, then you should be able to take the assets. But then again, is that not a little bit authoritarian on that point?
It is common sense, but again, it's in the realms of society, which is if you are a part of society, you are expected to conform to a certain level of norms, and breaking the law is against those norms. And once you break the law, then there are certain rights that you've kind of given up.
No, I agree. I agree with that premise.
Well, and I can't look at it that way because of the wording restitution. Because now we're not talking about an authoritarian, because to me that would mean give me, because we're looking at the authority, the people that have the monopoly on force, the state, stepping in and saying, you have done this bad thing. You have deprived this person of liberty, life, money, whatever it is. And because of that, you will pay. Ah, man, that sounds so good to me. I went one notch below full thumbs up because, like Magic God says, I'm not quite willing to stay right in the center. But it's, man, that's the way it should be. Eye for an eye, so to speak. Not quite that radical. But I mean, if I wreck your car and it costs...
grind.
Pardon me, sir?
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth would make us all blind and have no teeth.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Not that radical, but as just going to quickly wrap up. But if I damage your bicycle or vehicle, whatever it is, if I damage your property due to my negligence, who else better to pay for it?
No, I agree.
So, yeah, not an eye for an eye.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I've slightly agreed with that. That's why I've changed my thing, because of being able to go after the assets as well. Mm-hmm. So I have slightly agreed. So
yeah, even Susie said eye for an eye was a bad. I can't take it back because the idea is sound. But yes, no, that was Evans was saying is that's radical. Carry on, man, before I get in trouble.
No worries. Rights such as due process and the presumption, of innocence are relics of the past and only interfere with obtaining criminal convictions. I know where I'm going with this one.
I think we all do on this one, don't we? I think it's a very, very strong disagree. I wish I could, click on another one further to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think on that one, Ogre? Is it the same?
No, that's it. Come on. I don't think we should waste much time on this. Get on to some
That's
because at this very moment, especially in places like Hollywood with the Me Too bollocks, you've got a load of women who are accusing a load of male actors, producers, whatever, and the automatic assumption is that they're guilty. And none of them, as far as I'm aware, have actually stood trial for anything yet. And yet they're already orchestrated because a few women have said, he did this, he did that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but until they go in front of a judge,
they're innocent.
Still innocent, yeah.
Exactly. No, I agree. I think we're all under that point. As Ogre would say, let's mosey on a bit further and let's get a couple more questions done. After all, it is just about to hit 10:30.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna go. Let's, in fact, Common, just so you know, let's go for 20 till, and then we'll give our final words. And hey, this is not the end, folks. We will continue this. I'm going to say, boys, we can probably agree to it now. Let's just do this Mondays until we get through this. It may be another 2 streams, maybe another 3 streams. But we'll get through this. We'll have fun with it, and in the end, we'll see what kind of commies we really are. So crack on. I think we're doing great. And thank you. So I can't say it enough. I'll listen because I couldn't do everything at once. So I have no idea what happened while I was gone, but I can guarantee it was probably better than when I'm here. So just before I even look, thank you so much, lads, for doing that. I'm very honored to have you two here with me. It means a lot to me.
No worries, my friend. I'm happy to be here as well. I was going to say, just for today, should we not push until about just before 11 and then do final words just to see how far we can get?
I can do my final word in 3 minutes. So that would be, if we can give 3, 6, 9. So in other words, let's go till at the most until 8 till, but aim for around 10 till. But let's roll on, or what we're doing all that time. Yeah, sure. Perfect.
Juries should be able to judge not just the facts of a case, but also the justice of the law. So juries should be able to judge not just the facts of a case, but also the justice of law. For me, on this one, I put slightly disagree, because of your peers, as in me and you and everything else like that, how are we going to be able to judge on the justice of law if we don't have a full understanding of the law?
So in other words, they're not just the jury, they're also the judge as well, to a certain extent.
Yes, yes.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, a lot of people are saying that the judges these days are out of touch and giving completely inappropriate sentences. So if it was the laws, the justice served was dished out by, the general public and a group of them who had to all agree. The only thing I would worry about is that, they can half the time barely agree on a sentence. So then getting them to agree on an actual punishment. But I'm not completely against the idea. It's an interesting one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stay right bang in the middle on that one.
Because I read this as a case for jury nullification and for the idea of tried amongst one's peers, I went full thumbs up on this, that juries should be able to judge not just the facts, but also the justice. So they should be, in other words, I don't believe in all these instructions from the bench. Sorry, folks, because when we talk about common sense, with all due respect, when we talk about somebody versed in the law, no lawyer, no judge is any more versed in the law than you are, common sense. I can say that with absolute assurity because my entire house, and I've got 14-foot ceilings on one end, goes 9.5 to 14 foot. It could go floor to ceiling in my 1,800 square foot house of full of the law of this land. And so even if a lawyer knew as much as a human being could hold, the amount of knowledge they had of all of that law as compared to the amount you have of all of that law, even if your knowledge is nil, is the same, sir. So that's what I got to say on that. Juries should be making the decisions. And in many cases, there should be jury nullification, like somebody getting 20 years for selling cocaine or some stupid shit where they've already, look, and again, we've got a time frame and you've already told me. So that's my word. That's it.
Would you, I'm just trying to understand this a bit better for myself, because maybe it's the understanding of the language that I'm having a problem with. Would you say that the justice of law would be sentencing, or just having a preconception of what, like, murder?
No, they're not talking about sentencing. Sentencing would always stay in the hands of the judge.
In that case, in that case, then I'm going to have to change my point and go slightly agree.
Yeah, the judge would always be the one to give the sentence. In my mind, I don't see that in here. What they're saying is, because right now what they'll do is something will happen during the trial, gentlemen, and it'll be a witness has said something that is true, but isn't just the facts. Like, oh, she had sex with this guy 15 times before she claimed rape. I'm only using that for an example because it's one of the best. And they'll say, oh, no, you cannot bring up this person's. And when we come up to that, no, the jury should have all facts that can be known about everyone. And in our system, if we want to be honest, it should always be weighted toward the person that is accused. It's always, the burden is always on the other side, or you no longer have an assumption of innocence, because you know what they do now? Oh, a guilty person got away. When a guilty person gets away, all hands should clasp one another and should say, all hail the wonderful system of freedom that we live under. Because a guilty man walked, I mean it, because a guilty man, a rapist and a murderer walked free today. And that's the society we live in. And we should be proud of that, because it very rarely does happen. But when it does, that's the way it goes. Anyway.
No, that's fine. Shall we move on to the next question?
Yep.
Okay. Dispute resolution cannot be effectively provided by the market and thus require a government-controlled justice system. For me on this one, I've slightly disagreed, simply because the justice system is done by market. It's done by consensus, done by the idea of a group of people deciding what laws to enforce and what laws not to. So that's why I'm going to slightly disagree with that. I think the free market could actually be able to sort out dispute.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that, which is, again, if the government steps in, who's to say that, if they're not going to just give it to whichever side's given them the biggest, brown paper bag. It's much better to actually let the, the market sort out these sort of disputes. So I'm going to go with, you on that one, Common Sense.
Fair enough. What about you, Ogre?
No, I'm right there with you. In fact, I already had it picked when you said where you were at. So I took so long to say the last one. I just slightly to the disagree. One side to the disagree on that. That's a toughie, but I think we all get that.
Yeah, that's fine. Not a problem. Oh, stupid Young Turks. Fuck off.
I agree with that one. Where's that one? I agree with that one, totally.
Right. Prisons as they currently exist should be abolished.
Go on, somebody say something.
Yes,
I'm actually going to
strongly agree. They're horrible. They should be gone. In the Western world, as I don't know what it's like in your country. Here, they should be nowhere. There's no need for them. If you did away with all nonviolent offenders, you'd only need about 10% of the prisons they have. And then, for one thing, very quickly, they need to stop prison rape, and they could, but they don't, because they dehumanize these people, and they talk about, all these feminists talk about, end rape and rape culture, and they lie. 1 in 5 at Harvard get raped. Give me a bloody fuck.
1 in 4 now, mate. 1 in 4.
1 in 4. 1 in 4 people don't get raped on motherfucking 9 Mile and Livernois Avenue in Detroit. All right? Don't give me that shit. But guess what? 1 in 4 men going into prison do.
Yep. So I completely agree with that.
And the ridiculous prison system.
Yep, I'd have to completely agree with that. I definitely agree that prisons in their entirety should not be abolished, but the prison system in itself at this moment in time needs a serious reform. So I'm going to slightly agree with that one.
Here.
Yeah, I'm going for that one as well, which is that of course there should be prisons, but in their current, we're still doing it on a sort of a 19th century way of locking people up. The only difference is now is that you're locking people up and they're either being heavily mistreated, overcrowded, or they are not being punished adequately. There seems to be no sort of middle ground. And again, like all government agencies, it's heavily overburdened with bureaucracy. So yes, it definitely needs some sort of overhaul.
Yep, no, I agree with that. Let's move on to the next question, as we all agree on that one. The only legitimate use of force is in defense of individual rights, i.e. life, liberty, and justly acquired property, against aggression. And just to kick this one off, I strongly agree with that.
Yeah, can't add much to that. I'll let Bollocks have the wind on this one, because I've been taking the wind out of everything so far.
Yeah, I think so. because I was just thinking of any way that it might be. No, can't think of any. I agree.
No problem then.
Yeah,
it's elementary. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, right, next question. All people have the right to self-defense, and they may agree to be aided by other individual or group.
Oh, okay.
That was very tough for me. I didn't go full on agree because this didn't make any stipulations. And something like this, there needs to be, because in other words, you'd have to say self-defense. What do you mean by that? That would mean self-defense against robbery or physical hurt. Other than if that was very well stipulated, then I would agree with the rest. But now it's saying that self-defense, ambiguous, group of people you can call to help you, ambiguous. I only got one click to the thumbs up from middle.
Well, actually, I'm going to go center on this one simply because, as you quite rightly said, you can call an individual or a group. If you're actually defending yourself, how can you call on an individual? And what stupid person is going to attack somebody that's already in a group?
Right. Good point.
So I'm going to stay center on that particular point. And if you've got enough time to call a group after an individual fight, you're not really using self-defense.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
I'm going center on that one.
You know, the only person I could think of who would be completely in agreement with that would be Yvette Falarka.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't fully agree with it because I thought of it, but now you said it like that. It's true. It's bloody true. It's true.
It's, you know, don't get me wrong. You're quite entitled to self-defense. If you start getting attacked, you know, for no reason, then by all means fight back.
Yeah.
But don't say, oh, hang on, can you wait a minute? I'm going to get my mates. I'm going to kick the shit out of you. No. No, it doesn't work that way, old son.
That does sound very Antifa now that you've really drawn my attention right to it.
Well,
as I reread this,
Sorry, I was actually going to draw a really, really quick point. And you remember the gentleman with the long neck?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That was his terminology. Yep. That was his idea.
Look, I actually
have the right to self-defense.
I actually changed mine from what it was, which was one click to the thumb to all the way thumbs down on this. Yeah, no, the more I think about this, the more I think, no. If you can either defend yourself or you can't, if you, like you said, if you got time to call other people together, well, then you're bloody bam, aren't you? You're a vet for Arca. No.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Let's move on to the next question.
That was a good one right there. That was a tough one. They're sneaking shit in here, ain't they? A few of them, they try to give you a zinger.
Individuals do not have the right to keep and bear arms. So individuals do not have the right to keep and bear arms. And
I'm not even gonna.
Yeah.
No, I'm out. You boys answer this one. You know my
answer. I strongly disagree with this point. I honestly do believe that you should have the choice to be able to have a firearm if you want to defend your family and livelihood. So I'm in strong disagreement to this.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel because of the fact that I'd love the American Constitution because of the rights that it guarantees them, and I wish we did have something like this in Europe. But at the same time, we don't really have the same sort of problems that they have with gun violence because of the fact of guns being so readily available. So I do believe in individual rights, but again, individual responsibilities.
But your battery and your knife violence is so ridiculously off the charts higher than ours. And personally, I would rather be shot than beaten to death or stabbed.
Well, it's not just that. There recently, I believe it was about a month, maybe 2 months ago, just before Christmas. I think it was in November, actually. There was a shotgun shooting in Norwich where somebody went in with a shotgun and held up a bowling alley. They had to get the SWAT team in, so to speak, proper SWAT team, armed police, to be able to get him out. And that's in a place that apparently doesn't have any guns. So the fact that people say, oh, you need to have gun laws, is like, well, we have the stringent gun laws, but yet people still die on a regular basis of gunshot wounds. So having the law doesn't mean
I always
anything.
go with you. You can't nerf the world. I always hear Joe Rogan and this, I think it was Endgame. It was some crazy Alex Jones documentary, I hate to admit, but they were interviewing him. And you know what? People, what are you going to do? Put corks in a force? People jump off the Golden Gate Bridge What are you going to do? Have a roving patrol or put up big old... What are you going to do? Nerf the world. That was the quote I loved. Nerf the world? No, man. And I love you, Bollocks. Appreciate your opinion. But the absence of firearms does not preclude violence in any way. In fact, if you look at it, in cities where there is concealed carries in our country, violence and burglary, armed robbery, person to person muggings go boom. They were way down in New York in the late 70s, and then they took away firearms and they jumped back. Anyway, it's a long diatribe. But I will say this: as much as I'm just talking, you make good points too. There's points to be had on both sides. I just would ask that no one be blind to that.
Exactly. As I said before, this one's not a debate. It's a debate between all of us. This is just our ideologies and trying to find out where we lay, rather than actually trying to debate each other on different ideals. And I know we're not, because I almost fell into the trap myself. It was just a point of moving on. By the way, we only literally have 5 minutes left.
Yeah. No, let's go. Let's just go. I mean, as long as you boys ain't going to go for a long end word, I won't either. Because what I can see right now, Common Sense, is we're almost a third. And if we do a third, that means it'll take 2 more shows and we'll be able to do it. So, yeah, rock and roll.
Yep, no, I'm fine with that. So, individuals do not have the right to keep and bear arms. I strongly disagree. Magic Bollocks, where are you lying because you didn't say?
I'm going to stay in the middle because, like I said, I understand. And I suppose also that that little boy that's still in me would love to own a gun.
Not a problem, my friend. Right, so people should be prosecuted for exercising their right to self-defense. So people should be prosecuted for exercising their right to self-defense, and I'm strongly going to disagree with that.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that. It'd have to be the old bullet in the back thing scenario, like with that farmer whose name I can't remember now. But even then, but even Tony Martin. But even then, you shouldn't. That was too extreme for my liking.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. Yeah. So private property owners should be free to set the rules regarding the presence of weapons on their own property, and I am again going to strongly agree with that.
Me too.
Yeah, if the law of the land is that you can own weapons and it's your own property, you can do what the fuck you like.
Yep, that's fine, not a problem. So moving on to the next question. Government should restrict, register, and monitor the ownership, manufacture, and transfer of firearms and ammunition. I myself on this one am going to go slightly agree. I think government should have the idea of restricting against people with mental illness, and every firearm should be registered if you're going to legally own it, obviously. So I agree with that, but not wholeheartedly to where the government literally restricts everybody on it.
200 years ago, a retarded kid would never be able to buy a firearm, and there was no government involvement. If you left the sale of firearms up to the individuals, people say, oh, no, the evil firearms, they'd sell to anybody. No, bollocks. It's not true. It was never that way. Government should not be involved. I went full thumbs down on this one.
That's fair enough. Magic Bollocks?
I believe that there is quite heavy restrictions on who can buy a gun in the States anyway. You can't just literally walk into a gun shop, give them the cash, and walk out. There are quite stringent checks, especially on handguns. So I think it's pretty much in place anyway that what I would consider acceptable. So I'm going to go sort of agree.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. Cheers.
Right. Respect for private property rights is fundamental to maintaining a free and prosperous society. Me, myself, I'm going to strongly agree with that.
Anything less is Marxism.
Yeah, it's a hell yes for me as well.
Right. Okay, moving on. Contracts to obtain, retain, profit from, manage, or dispose of one's private property should be regulated by the government, and I'm going to strongly disagree with that.
Yeah, me too. That's just like almost a trick question because it's just same thing as what they just said, and the last one worded opposite. So yeah, no way. Government, get thumbs down on that one all the way from you.
Yeah, again, that's the government sticking its nose in where it's not needed, so that's a big no from me as well.
No problem. Right. Private property owners have the right to control and enjoy their property so long as their choices do not harm nor infringe on the rights of others. And again, I strongly agree.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, strongly agree.
Yep, no problem. The practices of eminent domain and civil asset forfeiture should be abolished.
Holy man. I'm not even gonna wait. Yes, I'm with David Knight from InfoWars. Civil asset forfeiture is robbery. That's no longer a government, they're pirates.
I only slightly agree with that because I think there is some aspects where it can be used in a good way. Simply for instance,
Eminent domain is hard for me, Common Sense. So I'll say this. I am gonna go one below full thumbs up because they threw eminent domain in with this, and I wish they had.
Yeah. That's basically what I was going to say, that if you're not paying your rent on social housing, that they can take it away. So that's the reason why I'm going to slightly agree.
Yeah. Does this include the seizure of assets by criminals by any chance?
That's what they're talking about. Yeah. And
Right.
no, and it could be alleged criminals. Right now in this state, if they come to seize your property, what you have to do is you have to put 25% of what is the said value of that property in cash as surety. And this is before you're convicted. So in other words, they come to your house, they think you're doing something wrong. They take your computers, they take your money, they take your jewels, they take everything in your house. You say what you think that's worth, give them 25%. That means if you are found not guilty, and in this state, some other parameters, they may give you your stuff back a year after everything's over, but they may not even then. And in this state, they don't give anything back. They just come and steal people's stuff. Been many innocent farmers, man. Oh Lord, I'm done because that would take me days to talk about that. Should be abolished.
Where do you then fit on that little question, Magic?
I think I'm going to go in the slightly disagree because of the fact that, yeah, in certain cases, then yes, it should be seized. It just would be nice that it was then, you know, used for the right reasons, like Common Sense said.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, next question then. In order to protect the poor from the rich, limits on profits production, mandates, and controls on prices of goods and services are necessary. I strongly disagree with this statement.
Yeah, me too. Just keep out of our business.
Yeah, I can't even comment on it because this makes my brain hurt thinking that people would disagree with us on that. Carry on.
No problem.
Yeah, they're called people like my father
socialists.
Socialists.
Commies, man. Socialists. Oh,
yeah. Right, so moving on to the next question then. For voluntary dealings, parties should be free to trade with who they want and on mutually agreeable terms. For me, strongly agree.
Strongly agree. Strongly agree myself.
Yep, that's fine.
Well, hang on a minute. Hang on. I haven't caught up yet. Hang on.
No, you take your time. I'm just because I can't add to that. All I can say is I strongly agree with it.
Exactly the same as me on that one.
Right. Voluntary dealings, parties should be free to trade with who they want and on mutual agreeable terms. Voluntary agree.
Yep.
That's just crazy. Anything else?
No problem then. Moving on to the next question. Have you moved up with us, Bollocks?
Yep.
No problem. Private landowners do not have an incentive to maintain natural resources and as such need to be regulated by the government. I slightly disagree with that statement. Simply because some people will do and some people won't. It's like if you own a farm, you don't want to destroy the farm. But if you own a factory, you want to get rid of the waste. So some people are going to get rid. Exactly. So I slightly disagree with it. I can't wholeheartedly agree or disagree.
Well, funny enough, private landowners at the moment have an incentive not to farm it because they're getting EU subsidies, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, but they still have to look after the landlord, don't they?
Well, supposedly. But yeah, I'm going to be in the in-between there, which is
I'm staying right down the middle myself. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. It's because I believe in my heart that the community, in other words, if the government was not involved in it and somebody's pouring poison in the river, eventually somebody's going to get lynched, and that would almost, in my heart, be a better way to deal with it.
Yeah, that makes more sense. In fact, on that actual point, I'm actually going to change my answer.
Hey, it's happened to me tonight. I mean, you listen to people's ideas and what seems cut and dried sometimes You got to think about stuff, man. You know,
No,
what else?
actually rereading it, I'm not going to change my point. That's why I put slightly disagree.
You know what's scaring me is, are we going to be able to keep our place? We've answered all these damn questions. So I'm going to hopefully, because it still has not, it still has not changed. I should have been.
We started at 10 past, so we still got another 20 minutes really before 2 hours comes up.
Well, oh yeah, but there's no way we're not even half done. There's no way we'll get done with these in 1 hour. But I have the you know me, I'm a little crazy. So let's do 5 more questions, and I'll go back and at least listen to. I don't know. I won't do all 3 of them. I'm not even gonna lie. I'll know where I was at. That's a bitch. It should allow you. I just now realized it should allow you to at least keep your place. But even when I would go back into the history, it's not giving me a history. This is all one
great big test.
Which is cool in one way because you don't have all. Anyway, all right, carry on. Let's try to do 5.
Actually, we have got recorded evidence of what we did, haven't we?
Yep. I'll get mine. I'll go through and I'll get mine. I'll have mine right back where it is. But that's a lot to ask. And then, but the next time we'll all be more diligent like we were this last, because we can get done with we can get through with the rest of it in one more show. I know we can. So I will have mine right where I am. I don't know. I'm going to show you all where I am. And before I just screw it up like I tend to do when I start talking sometimes when all are here, I'm down here. My ball is finally swinging back to the right. That makes me happy.
I'm much further right than you.
Much further, huh? How did you get? I mean, that is crazy that it's coming out that way. I mean, it's because it seems like we've answered most of the questions similarly, but well, so let's do 5 more Common Sense because we got Mad Dodge is going to come by. He's going to talk for about 2 minutes when we're all done, and it's not anything. He's just going to do a bumper for his show. It's up next.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So to prevent government pollution and misuse of natural resources, public land should be privatized. So to prevent government pollution and misuse of natural resources, public land should be privatized, and I'm going to go strongly agree.
I can't go strongly.
Oh, sorry, I'll go.
No, crack on. I've been cutting you off. Go ahead.
I thought they got that the wrong way round to start with, because isn't it normally supposed to be private land that's being misused, and then the government taking ownership of it to prevent pollution? But so that's a very strange question, that one.
Yeah, that's a toughie for me too.
Public land should be privatized. That sounds to me like an excuse just what like the Tories used to do in the 90s, which was flogging off publicly owned industries just before a general election so they could get some money in and make some tax cuts.
Hey, hang on. Now, this might be a uniquely American question, but I don't think it is. Don't you all have public forests, like national forest or national, some Cliffs of Dover National Monument or something where no one really owns it? Everyone can go there. And don't you have stuff like that? State parks?
Publicly owned forestry in the UK is owned by something called the Forest Commission.
See, that's what they're saying. They're saying because here we got Yellowstone, we have the Grand Canyon National Forest. I don't want to mess up our five questions. We'll do 5 questions if it kills us. Common sense, but I mean, so to me, they're saying, look, I've been to the Yellowstone. I've seen the Old Faithful. I've been to the Badlands. I've seen the Grand Canyon. And nobody charged me a dime. Well, I take that back. I had to pay $5 in most cases for a day pass to public parks. And that, of course, pays for it helps pay for the stuff. I don't mind that. But if it was owned by an individual and to see the Grand Canyon, somebody owned it, that's where I'm at. Am I wrong to think that? Common sense? Is that what they're saying?
No, but the way that you've just explained that, I actually agree with you. Natural resources, public land should be privatized. No, I agree with you. It should stay in the government hands. I think government would be able to do a lot better on the subsidy for that.
Yeah, I went 1 notch toward the thumbs up on this one. I had to.
Yeah, it was
tough.
I agree with that because of the fact that if you privatize all the land, then where will you be able to go in terms of?
You do realize that the premise of the question is to prevent government.
I know that's why.
Yeah, it's tough for me to.
Yeah,
right.
So that's why I'm saying if you're agreeing with it, that means that you agree that the forest should be privately owned, not publicly.
I just don't think that the government pollutes. That's why it's tough for me. I'm going to stick up for the government in this and say they don't do that. So they should be in control like they are of these certain things.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. That's the reason why I changed my answer. Because first of all, I strongly agreed with it. And now I'm strongly opposed to it because I don't think that, as you said, the national forests and things like that should be privatized. And that's what this question, as you quite rightly just said, is saying. Is to prevent government pollution and misuse of natural resources.
I just put mine in the middle. I'm staying in the middle on this one because that's I don't know if they're trying to trick me, but I'm going to just stay in the middle. I believe it should stay like it is. Yeah, the next one. We got 4 more to go.
You're going to love the next question. Where do you land on the last one, Bollocks? Because you didn't say.
I'm strongly disagree with that one.
No, fair enough.
Yeah,
in that case, then, protecting the environment requires that resources like land, water, air, and wildlife to be held in common and private ownership restricted. I actually agree with this one. I don't think that you can actually privatize water or air. Maybe water to a degree, but you definitely can't fucking privatize air.
Common and private ownership. Man, restricted. I think that I fully so in other words, you can't own it privately.
Yeah.
That's what they mean. Okay, now I got to go 1 notch below center. Have to.
Held him. So that's basically saying that it needs to be held with a mixture of both, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I don't want somebody saying I shot the king's deer. You dig it? That's why I'm having a hard time with this one.
Well, it's kind of what we got now anyway, where obviously, things like land is a mixture of owned, water is owned by private companies. Air, I suppose, comes under the restriction of environments. That's the government. And wildlife.
I wish they hadn't thrown wildlife in here. Bollocks. Yeah. I wish wildlife is throwing this one off for me.
I'm going to put it in the middle because I think that's what we got at the moment, and that's fine with me.
Yeah,
bloody hell, I agree. I'm going middle.
Yeah, that's the reason why I completely and utterly agree with this point, because I don't think that air can be commonly or privately owned. So that's why I put that it should be restricted, because it cannot be owned.
Yeah. Well, the only problem I had, like I said, is the wildlife, because no air and water. How could you privately own that? They already are doing that here with water. Nestle owns this. Oh, I can't even get into it. No, it's tough. I'm just going to stay middle because it's just another curveball for me.
That's fine.
We got 3 more in this easy.
Yeah, sure. The profit motive stifles the innovations and behavioral changes required to protect the environment, requiring intervention in the market.
Wow.
Yeah, I disagree with this one, but slightly.
I think the profit margin drives everything.
Yeah, they're trying to say that profit gets in the way of preservation. So there probably is something in that, yes. So I'm going to semi-agree on that one.
No, well.
Oh, hang on. I didn't read the last bit requiring intervention in the market. I'll change that. That's going to slightly disagree. Yeah, I don't want intervention.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the reason why I slightly disagreed.
Yeah, I missed that bottom bit.
Yeah, that's fine. Not a problem. Not a problem. Did everybody answer that question?
Yep.
Yeah, all the way down.
No problem. Environmental advocates and social pressure are more effective means of changing public behavior than government action. I'd have to actually strongly agree with this point. I honestly think that if you're going to use social pressure, then generally society will change. Government action, generally, people may agree with it to a point, but it's like fly tipping. It's against the law, but it happens a hell of a lot.
Right.
Well, the trouble is, the MPs who tend to push for it don't actually know about it, so they'll just get some, half-ass advice and then go with that. Whereas if it's somebody actually advocating for, with actual knowledge of the situation, then they're probably better, more clued up to tell you what's going on. So yes, it's normally better coming from these people than it is from the state.
Yep.
So I'm with you. I agree on that one.
No problem then. Right. Subsidies for energy production should be abolished. Me, myself, I slightly agree. I don't think fossil fuels should have any more subsidies. They earn enough money by themselves. Producing different types of energy, and I'm not just saying solar or anything other, but generally looking for proper ways of looking for other fuels, like, for instance, I don't know, a car that runs on water, for instance, might be a good way of producing some subsidies for those people.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm fully on saying that they should be abolished because I pay a consumer's bill and they both pay electric bill, and it's double what it should be, and it tells me why, and it's too long to explain it, but it should be abolished.
Well, I think I can sum that up nicely in one word, why I will be saying I'm, for it being abolished. Cronyism.
Yeah.
It's like all these ex-publicly owned companies that's now entered the private sector. You've got like this, the power companies are still getting government subsidies to pay for the green crap. And you've seen things like the railway companies are constantly being bailed out because they can't run the railways efficiently. No, it's your company now. It's a private company. You run it. You fucking sort it out.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys, that was pretty kick-ass. And we went over, but it ain't no big deal. We'll get Mad Dodge on and we'll do a bumper. We'll try to be cool like we got a schedule. But the fact of the matter is we do our own show, and it went a little over and it just didn't work out. So Matt had to go off, and as far as I know, they may already be fired up. But y'all, church isn't let out yet. Just hang on a second. You can go on over there then. But he had to do what he's got to do. We know how it is. Yeah, but, I do got to say, a little more chaotic than us, but I think it's cool because us lot here, we got our wild card over here, Magic Bollocks, with his penis jokes and making fun of LGBTQ and whatnot, all the things he does. And then we have our extremely, highbrow, straight-laced, common sense guy that, he cusses once in a while, but all fired up on the conviviality, and very congenial and approachable. And then you have me. We won't talk about that. But then, so if that tickles your fancy, we still keep it together. As crazy as we all may be, we try to keep it together. But now, after we say our last words and you mosey on and want to find something to do, swing on over there, man, and watch the Red Eye. They get crazy. They get some knuckleheads on there. Cabbage Patch Bastard. And as usual, I just leave it at that because that's enough said. So what do you think, boys? We got all the time in the world. We will pick this back up next Monday, and I will be hopefully exactly where I am by listening to this and knowing what I picked. There was the part where I was picking stuff and I was off it, but I'll do my best. Let's see where I'm at, swinging to the right and down low. And what do y'all think? This was great, Common Sense. I got to give it to you. This was pretty cool. I had fun anyway.
Yeah, no, so did I. I absolutely love the idea of being able to do a political test. Simply because if you're just doing it with a couple of people, you can see where the ideas and things change. And then also if you do it with people, then your understanding of the question can change as well. And I think that's the most important thing, because my understanding of the question may be slightly different because it's written that way on purpose. So I think that it's personally a really good thing to be able to do it with a couple of mates or a couple of other people. I think it's a very good idea.
Good time. Definitely good time. And I guess we'll do the old standby chat. If you liked us and you want us to do it a week from today and finish this out, press 1. If you want us to go fuck ourselves, press 2.
You know what's going to happen with our chat.
Oh, who knows? They'll be pressing 99 or some shit. Who knows? So I don't know, boys. I got to go do my night chores, and I can't stress it enough. I won't do it again. And yeah, they're already pressing 1. There's a lot of the people that matter pressing 1, and Jesse Jennings pressed 12. So in other words, he wants us to do it again, but we can still go fuck ourselves. I think that's and that's the best standard. Jesse Jennings, that's the best. That's right. Because Magic Bollocks and we fuck ourselves at least once a day, no matter if you ask or not.
I was doing it before we came on because we had Mrs. Ogre in shot.
Shit, I was right. What do you think I was doing? I said I was jumping. Never mind. So no, it's been fun, but as I said, we'll take as long as we want. We're going to impose on the new kid on the block. Bollocks, I got to tell you, you've been fitting in pretty marvelously here. It's nice to have you around. something about this, at least in my mind, it seems like Common Senseguy, the only other person that matters, agrees that there's this magic thing that happens when you get 3 people. Not to take away from our last stream, because we had a couple guests, but I've got to say, I'm going to say it now. The ones that I love the most are when it's me and you lot, because we know each other. It just seems to go smooth. I don't know. You know, I'm not going to kiss our ass, because not because we're the best, not because anybody else isn't better. It's just simply because we're a machine whose cogs have meshed and worked together to the point where had been the break-in period, and now the machine just runs smoothly with no funny sounds or ticks or clicks. It just grinds away like a fine mill, and that's better than, you know, a cacophony of fuck all, in my opinion. So what do you think, boys?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Statement's quite good. I'm actually going to finish my political test. I'm going to remember where I am, but I will be finishing it later, because I have to know where I lie.
You did it, though. You already did it.
Yeah, but I changed my opinion on
different.
about
Yeah,
4 questions.
I know it. That's why I'm going to meticulously, because I was thinking, I was like, I'm probably, I'll go through it and just try to get back where, but I know if I did it again, probably right now, I don't know if my ball would be hanging low and to the right like it is. Who knows? It does seem like something that's a shifty, you know, it would shift.
Yeah.
Which does not make it very scientific, does it, boys?
No, it does, because it depends on your understanding of the question. Because the reason why I've changed my position on different points is the understanding of the question.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
when
but
you've got more than one person looking over the same question, you know, 2 people might not read the question the same way.
Exactly.
I will say this, though. If you take the same test within a week 4 times and you get 4 different answers, it's not very scientific. I mean, that is the poster child for not scientific, because things have to be replicable.
Yeah,
they have to be able to replicate.
I would have to disagree with that, though, Ogre, because if you took it 4 times,
I'm sure you will.
No, but the reason why is because if you took it 4 times and then you answered the questions exactly the same, then of course you're going to get the exact same answer. Of course you are. But the point is that you would change the answers, which means that on that particular time, you were slightly left, or you were thinking slightly right, or you were thinking slightly more authoritarian or libertarian. That's
on this
the
kind
difference.
Yeah. Can I just
on
say,
this type of test, I can't really argue that. I can't.
Yeah. Can I just say, I think if somebody takes the same test 4 times in a week, they're probably autistic.
Well, I've took it twice, so I just need 2 more.
Man, I love brain teasers and tests, and I've got access to peer-reviewed journal sites and college sites to 3 college sites, and because of that, I use them. And so every time there's a new IQ test or aptitude test or some kind of social, you know, what's the other one? It's called, there's IQ and there's EQ, equity quotient, because those are the 2 main ones. And the equity quotient kind of shows you how politically correct you are. The funny thing is, I'm not going to be a based mama. I've actually said it on air, and then listening back was like, man, you moron. You don't sit there and tell people what kind of IQ you got. It makes you sound like a fucking jackass. And, you know, true or not, it really don't matter.
Well, I can tell everybody what IQ I've got. I've got 96. I'm amazing.
Don't go there, because I told you, I gave you, you seen what I got on that same test, but Common Sense, I gave you I'll say this, some of the internet ones are skewed to make it seem like you got a really good score when you shouldn't, and then some are skewed to make it seem like you didn't get as good as, and the one that I gave you is one of the hardest ones that I know of. You remember that it's the one that's like, if izzles are tizzles and bizzles are snizzles and no snizzles are bizzles, how many snizzles are bizzles?
Yeah.
And it'll really be something you're looking like, snizzles and bizzles or tizzles and bizzles.
See, I like the questions like that. The ones that I didn't like is, what shape's next?
Yes, those are the other ones. It'll show you like tink, 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 tink. And those are I would say this, though, that aptitude test is not engineered for Western people. I do okay on them, but if you give that kind of aptitude test to a Tanzanian, they historically do really, really well on them. That is the kind that kind of, it's you know, because everybody complains and says, oh, IQ tests are racist. Well, no, but they do lean Western in a lot of cases. The one I gave you does not. That leaned completely only problem solving. You dig it?
Yeah.
Very simple. Anyway, and that's what a geek I am. It's just funny you said that, because I don't, not that I've taken the same exact question kind of tests, but I've taken from like the same organization that was offering an EQ or an IQ test, dozens of times. I don't know. I'm that fucking bloody bloke that you probably beat up after class, bollocks, because you were off, you just wanted to go play darts, and I was the guy that was like, I not only scored an A, but then I was pestering the professor for extra work so I could get an A+.
Oh, I did that in college on Wednesday, and everybody's been calling me a nerd for going, yeah, I've already finished my homework. And like a couple of people gone, you're a nerd.
Yeah, and they'll hate you for that too, won't they, Common Sense? They'll fucking hate you for that.
Yeah.
Well, it's their bloody fault if they want to procrastinate. And look how far off the rails is it. Bollocks is like, he's already, you know what it is? We can't hear him because he's already around the corner at the pub shooting darts. He's left the fucking nerds in the Nerdville.
You're making assumptions. I'm very, very offended. Honestly, I'm internally triggered.
Well, tomorrow we gotta get going, because now we're imposing on Bollocks. So let's let him give his final word and go, because tomorrow is a great grand day. Bollocks gets to go back to work. And I'm sure he wants to get to bed sometime tonight. And we sure appreciate you being here tonight, brother. And Wednesday, if you can make it, you can. I don't even know if Common Sense will be here, but we'll definitely work on Fridays, and we'll look for you. And while you're working, whatever. And folks, please excuse Bollocks if he comes over the first hour, maybe the case. But the man's got to make a living, and he can't just be up and be a jackass for your entertainment all the time. Thanks for being here, though, brother. So what do you got to say? Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to say to everybody that it doesn't matter what your political opinions are, as long as you're able to talk to other people, discuss, and realize that just because somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person or your enemy. So the more you discuss and the more you talk to people, you begin to realize that even though we're all different, and believe me, we are all different, you might find a lot in common, you might find you have nothing in common, but the only way you ever find out was by actually talking to people. And that's what we've done tonight. Three lads all together doing a test, all being asked exactly the same questions. Admittedly, we have agreed on a lot of things, but we do have different opinions on certain things, and there's Common Sense quite rightly pointed out. A question worded in a manner that one person will interpret and the other person will interpret it in a different way. And I actually did something tonight I'm very proud of. I actually made Common Sense look at one of the questions and think, he's got a point. So I am actually feeling quite smug tonight. But final word to everybody, go and do your business, be good about it, be good to everybody else, and have a damn good time doing it. Thank you very much to all in the chat. Thank you very much to Common Sense for setting that up. It was good fun. I shall look forward to doing that in another week. And Mr. Ogre, respect as always.
Cheers.
Well, I'd have to pretty much agree with absolutely almost everything Magic Bollocks said on his last word there. I think it's absolutely amazing. I would actually prefer it if one of us was actually a hell of a lot more left-leaning, just to understand where their political view would be on particular questions. Not to challenge them at this point, to be honest, but just to do the actual testing itself, and then just go, well, I'm this way, I believe in personal property, and for some reason you believe in government property. I'd love to have that comparison of finding out what's different and where the actual ideologies change. I would love to see that. So to have the different ideas, obviously, as Ogre and Magic Bollocks as well, it also makes me rethink of my different points of view as well. So I'm really quite happy that we did this political test today. We haven't finished it, obviously, but I'm very happy that we did do it, because I know there's a lot of things going around where people go, oh, the political tests don't really tell you where you are and what you're doing, and they're full of shit or whatever. I don't think that they can particularly tell you exactly what your ideology is, because everybody, if you throw up a different question, then you're going to give a different answer. But generally, it gives you an idea where you are. Generally, it would give you an idea where you are. And I think that's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to have a generalization, maybe not to be put into a particular label, but it's good to have a generalization of where you're going. I would just like to point out that I will not be here on Wednesday, unfortunately. I will be at college and I finish at 9 and I've got to drive an hour and a half to be able to get back. So I will not be here on Wednesday. But I will be here on Friday, which hopefully we might have a guest that begins with a U, and we might be talking about Sargon's political views on liberalist, and maybe he'll be able to help us understand what he means a bit more. But we shall see on that one. It is penciled in, but it may not happen. But it is penciled in. And not to take anything away from Ogre, I'm sure he'll be mentioning this again as well. I can't wait for Saturday. I cannot wait for Saturday. So with that being said, I will pass that over.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm excited for a lot of reasons on the Saturday thing. I think number one is, and thank you so much, Magic Bollocks, Common Senseguy. Thank you, chat, for being here, for making this real. And I will talk a little bit about this thing that you see here that I'm hovering in at the moment. I'm very happy with it, very proud of it. It's something very cool. But I'll keep the suspense on that for just a moment. And yeah, I'm excited because we're going to be able to show once again that we can have that person that yeah, it's cool that we mesh. And yeah, in my heart, even though you lot are the finest two gentlemen I know on earth, it would be nice if once in a while we disagreed a little more than hell. I was telling him earlier today, Common Senseguy and I like to disagree so much. I just picked a random thing the other day. I won't say what. We were on the DM banging away at each other, and it's just fun. I don't know. So it's in the competitive alpha male. There's always in alpha female, whoever you are, every alpha, there is always going to be that drive to, as Bollock said earlier, to compete, to show oneself a warrior, to prove that you would be able to win the woman, hunt the meat, harvest the vegetables, fend off the evildoers, all of those wonderful things that make us this wonderful, terrible, inquisitive, dangerous species that we are. The most dangerous on Earth. People like polar bears and everything else, nothing compares to the fearsome might of the naked human. Not just the human with the machine gun, but the human that now has to honestly fend for himself in a loincloth with a sharpened stick. Why? Not because we're the strongest, but because of that powerful glob of cholesterol and chemicals that we call a brain that houses the unconquerable mind. That section of you, constant viewer, that makes you and unique. We shouldn't all get a participation trophy. And that's not what it should be. But we should all be proud of the one thing that we didn't have control over, being born a human being with the ability to parse out nonsense from substance. Just to be able to differentiate from fact and fiction, from something that is real is something that's utter bollocks. So I could go on and on and on in that vein, but I won't, because I want to talk a little bit about this thing. You see, thank you so much, Buttercup, Princess Buttercup. She made this for me. She said something about doing a thumbnail on Discord. I was just not just jerking her chain, but I thought, oh, I'll ask for something. She said, ask. So I said, ask for. I said, hey, I'll take one. What would you like? What do you mean? And I said, well, I don't know, a thumb. And I even suggested, I said, like, here, I sent her the picture that you see up there at the side of me doing that. I was like, I don't know, make me look like Adolf Hitler or something. And which I didn't know she'd do. I didn't know idea what she did. But what she did was what you see. She took her time and made this. And I'll tell you what, Buttercup, I'll be using this. I'll use it as a thumb. I guarantee you. I will undoubtedly put some text. At times when I'm doing an ogre rant, I'll put a little text down there. But there's a very good possibility that this will be the thumbnail for the short streams that I do in between these wonderful long streams. And I thank everybody for being so long suffering with me. and hopefully enjoying those things. No, I don't probably get as much exposure from those, and not as many people watch. In other words, there'll probably be very rarely, if any, that will go up to 500, 600, 700 views, which some rare, but some of my videos do when I do my little 5-minute rants. But nothing replaces this, folks. That's why. And Common Sense is great that you're not going to, Wednesday, you just take care of college. We'll take care of university. We'll work it out. But you got to admit, this is what makes it cool. This is the hook that brings Bollocks, Common Senseguy, and myself back. It's not glory because, I mean, look, there's 13 people watching right now. We're in a little channel. We respect and appreciate every one of you, but it's the idea that we're interacting with you lot right now. We don't know, Susie Monkey's in the United Kingdom. I think AlphaGo is. I think 058's here in the States. Around the world, we talk to people, and it means the world to us. So thank you so much, Buttercup. I went a little bit long on my final word, and I may go a second longer if I was to impose, but I won't because my co-hosts are so kind, and Magic Box has to get up in the morning. Remember, swing by, those of you that haven't already skipped out, and those bastards that are already over there, I'll see them over there. That are already over there at Mad Dodge Production. They're all getting demerits. They get knocked down 10 demerits for next week. And if they don't watch it, they won't even be able to attend breakfast for a month. So I certainly hope that they will remember that and stick with church until the preacher lets everyone out. And I do believe that's now. So remember, folks, be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge you'll never be able to forget about it. Because constant viewers, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and everything you know will depart from you.